Why can't they recover those emails? You're telling me they're not somewhere in the cloud, that they're not capturable by the NSA?
They could, if they wanted to get them, they could get them.
The NSA has them. The CIA has them, don't they?
Absolutely. The NSA, at a minimum, has them.
Maybe Russia has them.
Well, it goes beyond that. Without actually tackling one particular point, it comes right back to, and I don't want to go back to the caller from Florida or pick on any particular person, but I listened to it, and I just shook my head. Here's a guy saying he'd pay more tax, but yet he says he only pays 10% tax. And you were right. Take your money then and support people who want to.
I pay 39% or so of federal and state tax of over 10% in the corrupt state of Jerry Brown. So I'm being raped by the federal, by the state, by the local governments who are feathering their own nests. And here's a Democrat who pays 10% and says I should pay more.
Well, and he's also telling you, he's trying to tell you and convince us that Hillary's going to do right by the country. When has she ever done right by anything?
Well, I don't know how any Democrat with a straight face can support this woman. She just is not clean enough for the office. There's too much dirt around her for her to run.
Of the law, she doesn't have to comply with turning things over to Congress. She doesn't have to sign forms when she leaves the government. I mean,
but you know, this is all a distraction. Do you know what the real story is about Hillary Clinton? She killed Gaddafi. Do you remember when she said, we came, we saw, he died? Do you remember that at all?
Absolutely.
Do you remember what Gaddafi in Libya said, that if you kill me, be very careful, don't kill me, because Libya will descend into chaos. It will become a lawless nation like Somalia ruled by warlords. Do you realize that most of the migrants who are fleeing Libya, landing in Europe, 800 of them died last week? They're all a result of Gaddafi being killed by this insane, crazy State Department?
Well, you know, here's a case where at that particular point, it was a popular thing for her to do. So she'll fly from, I think it was this morning on Fox News, where they commented and said she backpedaled about the two treaties. They're not treaties, they're trade agreements that the Democrats don't want to get behind because they need her to get big unions behind her for funding purposes. She backpedaled on that. So whether it's Gaddafi, whether it's giving political favors for money flowing into her foundation, it doesn't matter what the topic is, and that was my point. At some juncture, these Democrats have to say to themselves, when are we convinced that this person feels above the law? She doesn't feel that she has to live by the same rules that we do, and it doesn't matter because she can get away with it. She lawyers up. The Secret Service protects her house, so the server sits there. Nobody's going to challenge her. This is who you want for a president? Somebody who feels above the law. They don't have to talk to reporters. They can pick and choose who they want to talk. Personally, I've had enough of the debauchery part.
Well, but look, let's be clear. You're a Republican. You'd vote for any Republican over any Democrat. That's a given, correct?
Absolutely.
But put that aside. You're saying that she is too corrupt to hold office. Of all of the Democrat potentials, she's the most corrupt. Isn't that what you're arguing?
That's exactly what I'm arguing.
So why doesn't the Democrat Party say something to get out from underneath the stink coming out of the Clinton camp is what you're asking. What you're really asking is, what would it take for the Democrat Party to own up to the fact that she's too corrupt for them and they can't back her? That's what you're asking.
That's exactly what I'm asking.
I don't have an answer for you. I think that there's no answer to that question. I don't think they will ever abandon her.
Well, they won't because her polling numbers are high, and then they want to win. So, they'll back a horse, that has the numbers, and that's what they're doing.
And what we have on the Republican side, Barack Bush, that's who we're supposed to back?
I don't want to back that.
I'm not voting for Barack Bush from Florida.
I like Bush.
I had 12 years of the Bushes. It's enough already.
Yeah, no, Bush is too weak. Mama coddled him too much. I mean, I'm not going to go down the path of who I particularly like on the Republican side, but at this particular point, if we had a Clinton-Bush ticket, I don't know. I mean,
here's my opinion. If we have a Hillary Clinton versus Jeb Bush, the Republicans who did not come out, the conservatives who did not come out for Romney will not come out for him, and she wins.
Oh, that's exactly what.
And wait a minute, let me finish. He's running interference for Hillary. The reason Bush is running is to rake in the hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe $1 billion, to rake in the $1 billion in campaign money. That's number one. And then even if he loses, he wins because he's backed Hillary, and I guarantee you she'll feather their nest. Do you understand he's running interference for her? Because he has no conservative credibility whatsoever. The conservatives will not come out and vote for him. She gets in automatically. It's a repeat of Romney. If they run Bush, it's a repeat of Romney. She wins, and therefore he's running interference for Hillary, in my estimation. Thank you for the call. It's only one man's opinion. I don't know the inside of any of this. All I have is common sense and the ability to analyze. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Your Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com. It's the only company I trust for tangible assets, gold and silver. Call 800-BUICOIN.
We came, we saw, he died.
See, now that's the real scandal. That's about Gaddafi, who she is boasting she was responsible for something to do with his disappearance. And he warned us that if they took him down, as evil as he was a controllable quantity, and he kept the animals under control. And now we have the whole world falling apart because of this Arab Spring business. Meanwhile, the U.S. immigration policy has hit an all-time high, 41.3 million people. Did you hear this? Now, wait till you hear the breakdown of this. The U.S. immigrant population has doubled since 1990, so don't blame that on Obama, while the general population only has gone up 20%. But the immigrant population has quadrupled since 1970, while the general population has risen just over 50%. But here comes Obama. The greatest increases over the last 3 years in the immigrant population over the last 3 years now, this is since Obama was president, came not from Latin America, but from the Middle East, Muslims, Asia, that's China, and the Caribbean. So he's bringing in as many Muslims as he can, as many Asians as he can, as possible. If you could believe this, that's what he's trying to do, is change the demographics forever. So if you think he's a friend of the Hispanics, you're mistaken. The number of immigrants from Mexico and Europe living in the U.S. has actually gone down slightly since 2010. Did you hear this? But Mexicans still make up the largest immigrant population in the U.S., with 11.6 million legal and illegal immigrants residing here. That's a lie. It's not 11.6 million. It's far higher than that. Far higher than that. 1 out of every 6 adults living in the U.S. in 2013 was an immigrant. 1 out of 6. Now, explain something to me. If you're not assimilating these people, if they're not respecting our borders but spitting on them, if they're trampling our flags at colleges, what do you think will happen in 10 or 15 years unless we assimilate immigrants? Tell me what will happen. They'll kick you out of your own country. That's what will happen. Time for one quick call on the Savage Nation program. And again, the phone number here is 855-407-282. Milan on WJR Radio in Detroit. Welcome to the Savage Nation. Go ahead, please.
Hi, Mike and Admire. An earlier caller mentioned the GI Bill and the Great Society. Forgot to mention, like you said, we were solvent and sober then. But it made me think of this. There's a Canadian conservative
fan of Mark Stein, and I don't appreciate him using PR agents like you to push him. You know, when someone mentions the name twice and then spells it out for me, you hear? KBOI Radio. John, welcome to the program. Go ahead, please.
Yes. Okay.
George. Well, go ahead. All right, that's it. You lost your place in the bakery line. Tricia on WGDG Radio, line 4. Go ahead. You're next up on the Savage Nation.
Okay. You mentioned Gaddafi. That was my point. He didn't disappear. He was on the cover of the New York Post, riddled with bullet holes. That's what she did to Gaddafi. So,
why would she kill him? Why would she kill him when he warned that the country would descend into chaos?
I've been wanting to know all this time, what was the reason why America killed Gaddafi when he was doing nothing? What did he do? Nothing. Reagan had straightened him out, as far as, you know.
Yes, Reagan launched off the Eisenhower, Gulf of Tripoli, 2 U.S. F-15s. They put missiles down his right into his tent and killed his son. And then Gaddafi stopped acting up after that. I remember distinctly. He became a very controllable puppet. at that point. I don't know why they knocked him off. I have no idea. Why would they do that?
Apparently, well, it must have been they wanted to put their people in there, throw it over the...
Or maybe Israel's next. Maybe they'll go after Netanyahu and assassinate him. After all, if you want to make an omelet, you got to break a few eggs. And Netanyahu was the last egg that hasn't been broken in the Middle East.
Mike, they're never going to get Netanyahu. And they're never going to get, Israel. Forget about that.
Don't be so sure of what they're never going to get. If they're willing to waste the nation, what do they care about a single man?
Faith in God Almighty. And
of course, pray to God Almighty. Keep praying. That's all we have left is God. We don't have anyone in politics to pray to. A bunch of rotten villains, every last one of them. They're all villainous. There's no better word for it. The American political system is villainous. At this point, the only one I can back is Scott Walker. And I don't know much about him. I will not back Rubio. He's a non-entity, never should have run. He's a clown. Ted Cruz is unelectable. He looks like a weasel, and he sounds like a weasel. I don't care how much you love him. So who's left? Scott Walker, that's all. Hillary, if the Democrat Party had any brains, they would encourage her not to run. It's the Savage Nation. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Kind of donations to the foundation or your husband?
Well, we're back into the political season, and therefore we will be subjected to all kinds of distraction and attacks, and I'm ready for that. I know that comes, unfortunately, with the territory. It is, I think, worth noting that the Republicans seem to be talking only about me. I don't know what they'd talk about if I weren't in the race. But I am in the race, and hopefully we'll get onto the issues, and I look forward to that.
Well, that's the number one issue. How much money did you rake in? What are you talking about? You'll get back to it. What are Republicans are talking about you? You stink to high heaven. The country is talking about how rotten your family is. The best headline of the day is on the front of the New York Post, and they're pro-Hillary. That's the funny part. We know that Murdoch can't get enough of the Clintons, and yet Murdoch's rag, the New York Post, has an anti-Hillary headline, quid pro dough. Bill cashed in when Hill was in O's cabinet. Big bucks from foreign interests. Bill Clinton raked in $48 million for speeches while Hillary was Secretary of State. While she used her clout to help foreign donors to the Family Foundation, a new book says. Bill Clinton's earnings from paid speeches in 2001, $9.4 million. By 2009, it was $7.5 million. Went down. 2010, when his wife was Secretary of State, $10 million. 2011, $13 million. 2012, $17 million. Hillbillies, megabucks, it says. Hillary Rotten Clinton used her clout as Secretary of Hate to do favors for foreign donors who gave millions to her family foundation and who paid millions more to her husband, Bill, in speaking fees and new book charges. This is the book by Peter Schweitzer. Says that Bill Clinton raked in nearly half of the $105 million he was paid for speeches over a 12-year period during the 4 years that his corrupt wife, Hillary Clinton, served as Secretary of State. So now, you think the missing emails have something to do with this? The book is called Clinton Cash, and they raise questions about shady foreign money flowing into the Clinton Foundation and what actions Hillary took in her official capacity in exchange for the cash. It's an amazing allegation. Schweitzer is a former speechwriter, consultant for George Bush, to be clear about this. But let me tell you something. I don't care if he was God himself. He could be sued for libel if he couldn't support his allegations. God would be sued for libel if he wrote a book like this and couldn't support his allegations. One example of the alleged quid pro quo cited by the New York Times and other sources involved the State Department backing a free trade agreement with Colombia that benefited a company founded by a big donor to the Clinton Foundation. Okay? There's more. Much more to it than this. This family is tied to foreign donors. Of the 13 Clinton speeches that fetched $500,000 or more, only 2 occurred during the years his wife was not Secretary of State. Ladies and gentlemen, don't you think we deserve better than a system that would permit the American flag to be bought and sold like a cheap rag? I think it does. Even ABC News asked her about it. And she gave the old, "Aw, shucks, they're picking on a poor little woman again." Just picking on a poor little woman again. But that leaves us with a question. Would you vote for a rhino like Barack Bush to stop Hillary? I won't.